in society. There is a problem with our parenting skills. There are some issues that we're lacking in terms of how we address this issue. So let's break the cycle. On Ole, I cannot at the same time also put the blame on the doctors or the schools. Okay,
No,
it's a balance.
I'm saying,
I'm not on either side 100%, but I'm half 50% on Ole's side and 50% on Amy's side. So I'm right in the middle.
So we know why you're not 100% on Ole's side, because she actually pushes the blame on the doctors too at the end of.
No. I'm very fair. I'm very fair.
No, that's not what I'm doing. Okay, let me get in here, because I think Amy's like completely misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not taking the blame off the parents and saying that the parents are not responsible. You bring a child here, you should be 100% responsible. What I'm saying is, how do we move forward, right? We want to come up with solutions. We've been doing there's a saying that says, if you're repeating the same thing over and over and you expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. And pretty much if we keep saying, oh yeah, you as a parent, you should do this, you as a parent, but we've not been doing it for like how many years. So now I think it's time for us to take a seat back and say, okay, what are some different approaches? Like, how can we help as parents, right? Yeah, of course, there's some parents that are more proactive that will go online or seek the help of the doctor. But I think, like what Jay said, when somebody is pregnant, there's resources out there in terms of how you breastfeed, and most of those conversations are usually brought up by like the healthcare. So what I'm saying is, they should also try to incorporate that as part of the health topic discussions, etc. Because it's
Ole, in the Western society, like for example, in my clinic, I'll use that as an example because that's what I know of. Even when I was in the emergency room, when I see a teenager that comes in with their parent for regular visit, for a child wellness visit, I usually talk about it. Okay, to address the issue and ask the kid, what do they know about STD? What do they know about sex? I ask those questions and I'll tell the mom, hey, listen, we're going to have this conversation, and parents are usually very happy, okay? But when we go back to Africa, where the resources are not there, what are we going to do as society? For my advice, this is one thing that I can tell a parent to start off. If you have a primary care doctor in Africa, that's great. You can talk to your doctor to help you address this issue. If you have an OBGYN, that's great. You can still address that issue, because I think most people fail to understand that a girl should not visit a doctor until they're pregnant. That's not the case. Or they should not visit a OBGYN until they have sex. That is not true. They should actually have their first visit once they start their period, so the doctor can go into detail and explain to them. Now, if you don't have any of these resources, but you have a little bit of chicken change, you can, even if you're in the village, you can go in the city, buy a little kit, a pad, and just put it in a little box, and then give it to your child. Most kids will ask, and if they don't ask, you as a parent, you can come back and say, do you know what I gave you? And they'll be like, yeah. You're like, what is it for? And then that will allow you to
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected.
Boys, why they should be worried about sex, and what does it mean to have sex, and blah, blah, blah.
So Dr. J, that's actually really, really good, because those are some of the things I was talking about, that as a society, we can actually come together and help the parents. There's some other tools as well. For me, not recently, but like I have 2 kids. For one of them, I think I struggle a little bit in terms of talking to her about sex, etc., because it seems like she was even more scared. Like anytime I tried to bring up the conversation, she would just run away, tell me, oh, I need to use the bathroom. Like, oh, mommy, please stop. Right? But I have to figure out a way to talk to her about it. I did a lot of research after, and some of the things I found out was actually you do have to start talking to them at a very, very young age, as early as 5 years old.
Since your parents didn't do it with you, like Amy was saying, like, do you feel uncomfortable when you approaching this?
Yeah, definitely. It's I remember the first time I tried, I think it was like when she was 9, she freaked out. I became even more nervous. I'm like, oh my God, I don't really know how to start this conversation. And I remember she was like, okay, I'm going to use the bathroom. And then she left. So I kind of used that also as an excuse. I'm like, okay, maybe this is not the right time. And I think it almost took me like a few months. And the next time I tried was while we were driving. It's like, okay, now she cannot go to the bathroom. So I'm literally going to have this conversation. And I remember when I started asking, do you know anything about menstrual cycle? And she's like, Mommy, that that's nasty. And she was like, yeah, we learn it in school. And I was like, oh, really? You learn it in school? She said, yes. And I'm like, oh. And I had like a sign of relief, because to me at that point, I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't need to have this conversation. So after like 30 minutes, I'm thinking, no, I really do have to have the conversation. So I started asking her like, oh, what did they tell you? And that's when she said, oh, the egg turns into blood. but that was like my first time attempting it. And then I started like reading more in terms of, okay, what are some of the approaches that are being used out there? And I also even look from an Islamic perspective.
What about the dad?
So yeah, it's for both parents, right? Because we both brought the kids into the world, so we both have responsibilities. But it's just that sometimes maybe the daughters are more comfortable talking to the moms, and then maybe the sons are more comfortable talking to the dads.
So, but Amy, if we're being real, so you're a woman, your mom, so you're having this conversation because you're in America. I can imagine an African dad in Africa sitting their child down.
Probably not.
No, but you see, and that's why when we're having this whole conversation, I think the only part that I would agree with Jay is that we have to start almost kind of educating like men, especially, okay, to be able to be comfortable to sit down with their kids and actually have this discussion. I don't think this is just a woman, like this is just a mother to daughter conversation. There are a lot of single fathers out there, okay? You don't know what life can lead to. You might lose your mom, I hope not, right? At a very young age. And you as a father have to sit down and talk to your child about these conversations.
And what about the boys, Amy? And what about the boys too?
And even the boys. I think we are just kind of like focusing this as a woman thing, but I think it's also very important for boys to also be taught when it comes to sex and all these things, right?
Amy, are you talking about from an African perspective? You're saying like the dad will talk to their daughters?
This is in general, right? Topic? I'm telling you that we have to make sure that it becomes normal.
It needs to start happening.
It needs to start happening, because let me tell you something.
We want to break the cycles of what's going on in our cultures.
And you might think
I think you have to start with the moms first, right?
No, but hold on. You might think that it is just maybe the you might think that the child, okay, the daughter, let's say for example, is just going to be more comfortable talking with the mom. Every kid is different, and that's why both parents have to be hands-on when it comes to sexual talks, okay? Being with the boy child or the girl child. And African dads, just on a normal circumstance, just don't even want to have none of that discussion with their kids. He thinks his sole responsibility in the household is just to put food on the table, provide food for food and shelter for the household, and not have any form of conversation when it comes to these things. Okay.
And how about
I think I've said this in one of our episodes, and actually one of my friends called me to attack me and was like, "What are you talking about?" But it's a fact that most African dads just don't want to even talk about this. It's just so uncomfortable for them, right? But you brought this child into the world. You have to be able to sit down and have this conversation with your child.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable. And yes, maybe I don't have a kid. That's why I don't know how uncomfortable it is. But I think that we have to move beyond those uncomfortness as a culture in society.
The first question is, why do I have to have this conversation? If you know the why to ask why you are supposed to have this conversation, it makes it very easy for you to even have this conversation. What makes it hard is that I think parents are just thinking about, oh my God, am I going to talk about sex? Talking about this because there are health implications that you have to teach your child.
Great point, Amy. So the why question, there should be a why in every situation. Why am I here? Why are we doing this show? Why do we need to educate our kids? Why do we need to talk about sex with our kids? They can end up having a lot of sexually transmitted diseases. They can end up not being infertile. That means not being able to have a kid because of one mistake that we did, which is not talking about it to the kid. And they end up having an infection, and that infection leads to infertility. So it's important that we understand the reason why. Because most kids will only think about pregnancy. Most parents think about pregnancy. I don't want my child to be pregnant. That's the least of the problems that a child can have from having sex. Those are consequences that you may deal with now, but later on they may evolve from it. But one problem that a child can do and have unprotected sex, for example, is get HIV and get sick forever. Or they may have sexually transmitted disease, like, for example, the most common, the gonorrhea, the chlamydia, the trichomoniasis. They end up having what's called pelvic inflammatory diseases, which is very painful and also leads to infertility. So these are things that are very important that we address, we talk to our kids about. And if you don't have any information or are not knowledgeable enough to have the discussion, at least seek a medical doctor or seek a healthcare provider.
I want to push back in terms of what Amy was talking about with relation to the dads also should actively have a conversation. And I'm not saying that they should not, but we have to meet people where they are, right? So you cannot tell me that an African dad will be, even with all the tools that you give them, sit with their daughter and have the talk. It's difficult alone for the moms to do. So I don't think we should set that expectation, because then basically we're setting people up for failure.
Jay is a single parent with 2 boys and a daughter. Who is supposed to have the sex conversation with her 2 sons? Because there's no father. So the mother has to do that. Now that's exactly why I say, I'm not saying that the dads have to come and do the conversation, but we have to make sure that it is okay. We as a society.
So you want us to challenge the dads to step up?
Yeah, challenge the dads, teach the dads so that they can actually openly have this conversation.
We know that in Africa, in this day and age, to get a dad to talk to their daughter about sexual relationship or menstrual, like that's gonna be like a very, very tough one.
Like my stand, you know, like I'm not going to move away from it. The dads have to take responsibilities of sitting down with their daughters and having the uncomfortable conversations with their daughter. Period.
Point blank. Period. Dr. J.
On that note, we'll send Amy to Africa to have that talk with the dads.
Amy's gonna do the sex talk match with the dads.
Oh yes, I would. Oh, you would be amazed.
Look, you will see a lot of African men with their beads and saying that they're gonna pray for Amy to die and go to hell.
Subhanallah. Allah.
Talking of Subhanallah, which is of course the Islamic term, what do you say, Dr. J, about when it comes to sex and religion? Is that the reason why we are also being affected as a society, where it's so taboo, the culture and the religion see it this way, and that's why nobody is having this conversation?
Religion wants us to actually have these discussions, but we have intertwined our religion with our culture to the point that we can't even differentiate the two. If you go to African cultures, you end up thinking this is part of the religion when it's actually the culture itself. So whenever people are uncomfortable about a certain topic or particular topic, they tend to find an excuse by blaming something else, and the most easiest thing for them to blame is religion. But religion wants us to be educated, and if a particular religion wants you to be educated, there is no boundary in terms of education. Okay, there should be the reason why no sex before marriage, and we should have that conversation, which will allow you to even converse about the period, about when puberty is, about when you become muscalaf to pray. So how do you teach someone that they're actually muscalaf, and how do you teach someone when to cover in terms of Islam, when to cover their face, or why they need to cover their face, or why they need to dress up a particular way if you don't address that issue? So especially for Islam, parents should have an excuse to even talk about this in more details by trying to address the issue of when to start praying, or when you should start menstruating. What does that mean? Islam talks about this in details. So for us to use that as an excuse is just an excuse.
That we try to avoid the topic because we think that, if we bring it up, that means that the kids now will put it into their mind, right? Which is like, it's completely the opposite. Like, even if they don't have that discussion, they're going to hear it on TV or with their friends if they go to public schools. So they're going to get the information, and they may get the information that you as a parent will not like for them to get. Like, they may get misinformed.
I think a lot of African parents, they're so worried about their child being pregnant right? Because of, not because of their child having a child, right? But because of what everybody else in the society will say about their child and them as a parent. So for that, they want to shield the child so much that they're like, oh no sex. We're not going to talk about sex. We're not going to talk about period. We're not going to talk about, I don't even want you to be an adult. You're still a child, right? Because of the concept that if we talk about this, like Olay said, then she might get pregnant. Then everybody's going to look at our family as the horrible family, right? So then you end up harming the child by not talking about the things that you're supposed to talk about. So you're worried about, like you said, you're worried more about what people say than the health of that kid. Really, because I see what you're saying, Ole, but if we take it back to Africa, fundamentally, these are some of the reasons I think some of the women don't even want to talk about it with their children. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment, but please don't forget to comment below and let us know if you agree with Amy or if you actually agree with Ole, or if you're on the doctor's side or on everyone's side. We would love to hear it. And as I mentioned earlier on top of the hour, we've been working really hard with some of these organizations and these brilliant girls to collaborate with us on this segment or on this show. One of the organizations from Nigeria is called Girls for Development Foundation, and the one from the Gambia is called Girls for the Future Foundation, and I think the name speaks for itself. Let's take a look. When we come back, we'll discuss.
Hi, my name is Ujuma Presley. I'm a volunteer for Girls for Development Goals Foundation, and we're partnering with the Sister Show. You know, the Sister Show is a talk show in US hosted by the 5 CCA sisters, educating, connecting, and inspiring young people, especially women. But here with me is Favor and our sister Petra. You know, we are here to have a little bit of interaction concerning our health and also being a woman. How did you cope with this new change, this development?
Well, it was nothing new. I was expecting it.
So your sisters already gave you some form of education concerning.
Yes, they did.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. What school do you attend?
Actually, it's a blessing group of schools.
Okay. Do they teach you sex education in school?
Yes, they do.
My name is Priscilla Dunn, and I'm the founder and executive director for Girls for the Future Foundation. And it's really an honor to collaborate with the Sister Show all the way in the US to talk about girls, to talk about their health, to talk about women's health in particular. The Sister Show is a program that has been hosted by the 5 CC sisters, whose aim is to inspire, to connect, to empower and educate everybody, especially women. We at Girls for the Future have similar aims. We nurture, we empower young women and girls across the Gambia.
Good afternoon, ladies. Are you ready for our session? I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I would just like to get responses that you have. So, our first question: what are some of the main issues affecting health issues affecting your generation?
I think if we're being honest with each other is that most of our parents are not educated. So one thing that we should focus on is probably bringing information to them, for them to have access to information so they can also bring the information to us, or we give the information to them. About women in general, there should be more women in so many sectors like health. There should be more women because I feel like women can confine in ourselves more than the other gender, because you feel safe with a woman. For example, if you have a gynecologist who's a woman, you can actually confine into her and let her do whatever that she's supposed to do because it's her job and you're comfortable.
There are more male gynecologists in the hospital now. You cannot just concentrate on women. We need to educate the male.
People will tell you, your parents or your sisters or the elderly women will tell you that such is something that they cannot cure. I mean, medically, but in a traditional way. It can only be cured in a traditional way, because if you go to the hospital or pharmacies, they will just give you drugs that will calm those infections, but it cannot cure it totally. You know, we grew up believing that we women are born with that. Well, actually, that is not the case.
People do not know that you're not supposed to wash your vaginas with soap or whatsoever. People be telling you put garlic inside of it, put it overnight, and then you won't see any infections. Put Dettol in it. That is not true. If you wash it 2 days, you see things coming out. Oh, that is nice. The garlic is taking everything out whilst you're killing yourself.
Girls in the village they don't use pad. They use cloth. I could remember when I was coming up, I did not know pad. I was actually using a piece of cloth. My mom would always wash it later on, and then before I started using pad.
A lot of our toilets in our schools are not clean, or you don't have proper water supply. If you're on your menses, you rather stay home, not come to school. And sometimes people some girls take 1 week to finish their menses. And if you skip those days and you don't come to school, at the end of the day, you fail your exam.
You will see there are some girls, they will sit for 4 to 5 months without seeing their menstruation and without having connection with boys. But they will feel sad, they will feel scared to tell their parents because they will start shouting at them without hearing nothing from them. And at the end, it will affect us because you can go and get married without having a child. After all, they will say they have a high gap or something like that.
Sometimes I feel like as children, we need to be open to our parents and they will also be open to us. It's both ways. Yeah, because for example, me, I am very open to my mom. And she's open to me as well.
Meet her at home and tell her things like this. She'll not listen to you. There are some parents, they just don't want to listen. So, but if you bring your parents out to a gathering where she will not misbehave or she will not shout at you or do all those kind of things, I think she'll comport herself and listen.
People around you, like your parents, your friends, and stuff like that, sometimes they don't understand you, and you have to cope with that.
So that actually goes to one of my other questions about support systems. Do you guys have stress? Yes? We do? So how do we deal with stress? Okay, so you talk to somebody. Yes? Who do you talk to about your stress, if you don't mind me asking?
My mentors, for example, people that are close to me.
At a certain point, if I want to talk to or confront my parents about what I'm feeling or what I'm going through, the thing goes worse. It goes worse beyond what I even expected. So the least I can do is just to cry my heart in like conversation or communication between us and our parents, and we are finding it very difficult to deal with that.
Sometimes you can be stressed and go to someone that doesn't really have a listening ear. Talk to the person, and before you know it, it goes everywhere, and they would even judge you.
What systems do you feel that are in place in the Gambia to help you?
We do general science and all that, but reproductive health, and they don't go into it. Like there was a time they started Papa Ferry and all of a sudden it disappeared. I think they say some of the teachers felt uncomfortable because there's some things that I learned in Girls for the Future that I haven't learned in school before. So I'm very grateful for this. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't know a lot of things. I would think that everything is just normal. Everything that comes out of me is normal.
I think ways in which we as a community can help is by spreading awareness and make girls understand that it's important to go for regular checkups.
Exactly. And ways that the government can help is by putting free sanitary towels in schools, restaurants, and public restrooms.
Sharing with our sisters, with our cousins, with our mothers, with our grandmothers. Share the information around and don't be selfish with the information.
Thank you for watching. My sisters, love you.
Siata, Kelo Siata, Mobile after Kamek, Maria, yo Kelo Siata.
Wow, I'm so amazed, and I'm sure all of you all are really amazed by the conversations these brilliant young women are having. And for sure, if this is what Africa is right now as we speak, it is quite promising, and I'm hopeful. I don't know what you ladies think, and of course the audience, please continue to communicate and conversate with us below.
I do not remember thinking at this level when I was their age, so I'm very, very impressed. The one that stood out to me was the girl that spoke a lot about the relationship between girls and their parents. She mentioned how as African parents, they're usually not open, and so she doesn't usually have an outlet to talk to her parent, and usually it's like she feels almost scared because anytime she talks to her parents, it may end up being a screaming match, etc.
So Ole, if you are in Africa right now and you're sitting there as a parent, like how does that make you feel, and what do you think is the solution to that? Like, candidly speaking, from this child's perspective.
I feel really bad, like hearing her say that. If I'm a mom in Africa listening to that kid, I will take deep look internally and figure out if my kids feel the same way and try a different approach.
Just like you guys said earlier, it was really impressive for me to watch the kids. And like Ole said, I don't think I was at the same level when I was their age. People are evolving, whether it's in America or it's in South Africa or it's in the Gambia. Watching these kids was promising. And I think even Ole can probably learn from one of the kids that alluded that she would rather bring her mom to the meeting with her so that way her mom can listen, which was very good. That was a good solution. But watching all these kids, you can really see the fact that most of these kids, just because they're from Africa doesn't mean that they have the same experiences. Even looking at these two different kids psychologically, the kid that has a close relationship with her mom seemed to be a little bit more relaxed versus the other kid. So it's always important for us to know that it's not just the menstruation aspect of it or the sexual education of it, but when you have this open relationship with your kid, it helps their self-esteem, which factors into a lot of things as people grow up.
I can relate very well, especially with the kid that was talking about having to bring their parents to the meeting. If I just go home right now myself and start talking about sex to my mom, she probably just freak out, right? But it's so important.
She'll probably kill you, Amy.
Yeah, she probably would. Like, I mean, hello. But it's so important. It's so important that our parents get informed. So I think these organizations are amazing.
The young woman was saying, she was just saying, like, they just want information wherever the information comes from, whether it's these non-profit organizations that are holding these regular meetings. And I think they're doing a wonderful job. We have to thank Priscilla and her, colleagues.
Another thing also that maybe one girl going to these organizations and they go back to school and are able to share this knowledge with, let's say, 10 of their friends, that just keeps multiplying, and then we'll be able to actually spread the word.
What do you all think about one of the young ladies that said, mental health, in order for people to believe that you having depression or you having mental health issues, that you have to almost be naked for people to know that something is going on inside of you.
It really affects the child, the way you actually treat them. Like this is a different era that we live in right now. My generation, your generation, and this generation is a totally different generation, right? And we have to be careful the way we talk to our kids. We have to be careful the way we address certain situations, because you are actually damaging the mental well-being of these young kids and actually just bashing on their character. You're just pretty much just killing their confidence. I was not confident growing up at all. I was bullied in school. I've been through like some horrible times growing up. So it is important that your parents just kind of understand that there is a lot of things that kids are going through, and they just have to talk to them in a different way.
Especially this era, like you said, it's totally different. Social media is out there. The girls have so much pressure to look a certain way, to be a certain thing, right? The image, everything. So for me, I talk to my friends sometimes, I don't know what I would have been if I grew up in this generation, right? Like you just don't know, because there's so much pressure. If you haven't known who you are, if you don't have your identity yet, and you go onto social media every day and you see, everything, like, we don't look like this every day. You used to see me on my days when I don't have the wig on. Like, I could literally take it out right now and you guys be like, what happened to Juka? But I'm just saying, so if you don't know who you are as a woman or as a person or as a young girl yet, and then you are thrown into the world of this new media era, social media, you will completely get lost and get confused. And then on top of that, your parents are not helping you out or nurturing you the way that they should nurture you. I really honestly, genuinely worry about the next generation of young adults.
It's really true, Jaka. That's really, really important for people to know. So it's not just the fact that they're dealing with social media. A lot of changes that's going on within themselves internally. Like when the reason why you menstruate is because the estrogen level, which control a lot of your emotions, goes down. So when that is down, that decreases, then you're emotionally unstable. So the simplest little thing that couldn't have affected you if you were not going through these stages wouldn't be going on. And then the other thing is they're also emotionally going through things because of all these new things that are happening to them. They're now growing breasts. Now they have this pubic hair. Now they have to deal with their moms talking about their bodies and worried about men. And they have all these mixed feelings that is very confusing.
That's a lot.
So Yes. So when you think about it, they already have the psychological issue about wanting privacy. And then now people are invading their privacy. And like Amy said, the suicide it happens more in teenage years than any other age group. And that is something that people need to be aware of. So there is more suicide now with teenagers because of social media. People are harassing them. You have people making fun of you, laughing at you. Even if you don't have a pad and you start your menses when you're in school, your clothes get soaked, and then your classmates start making fun of helping you out.
And the rest of your school year is obviously ruined, right?
Yes, the rest of your school year,
life. Right.
And not only that, but one of the girls even mentioned that they have these menstrual pain, and when it happens, they don't have money to buy a pad, and that keeps them from going to school. So at the end of the year, you may end up not knowing everything that you should have known.
What an interesting part that one of the girls brought was about stress and depression, and she talked about how if she was able to talk, I think she mentioned something about if she was able to have these talks with her mom, it will help a lot, because she does not trust that talking to other people, because if you talk to other people, they will go and put your business out there. So you could just imagine like what some of these girls are going through if they do not have an adult or a parent that they can discuss like what's really going on internally through them, and this can lead to depression.
Well, a great point there, right? But I think one of the ones that stood out to me a lot was also the girl who talked about the infections, right? And this is something, again, right, I had to deal with when I was younger. And I don't know, right? I didn't know what it meant or what was a yeast infection. Being me and being scared of her, I wouldn't go to her and say it, because I'm like, okay, what is she going to ask me? So obviously now I have to find ways and means to get help, right? Instead of going to school, I will not go to school, but I will just take my lunch money and then take a cab and then go to Banjul and seek help, right?
Wow.
Without the consent of my mom. But then it just tells you how many kids are probably going through that same route, even worse, and just having to deal with that. And there are so many health implications also, right? Because she did mention that, sometimes they just tell you, oh, it's fine. Every woman just goes through that. No, it's not fine. It's not normal. And Dr. J will tell you that it's not normal.
Absolutely, Amy. It's absolutely not normal. So when we talk about discharge, there's multiple different types of discharge that comes from your vaginal area. Your discharge that is normal, usually when you on your ovulation, is supposed to be thin, and that allows the sperm to slide easily for fertilization purposes. When you have thick, cordy looking discharge, almost like cheese, that's usually considered what that girl was calling, what did she call it? Sorchet. Yes, you keep itching, and that's usually yeast infection. So the one that smells like fish, that's usually vaginitis or bacterial vaginosis. These are all types of infections that are not sexually related. So let's say, for example, the yeast can be related to diet, or maybe even obesity, or maybe even a sign of other problem like diabetes and other diseases that can be diagnosed by seeing a doctor, which people don't usually know. And if it is the BV, which is the bacterial vaginosis or vaginitis, that usually almost smells like fish, and people would think, oh, I'm dirty, so they keep cleaning more. And the more they clean, the more it gets worse, because guess what? We are self-cleaning ovens. Our body, God make our vaginal area as a self-cleaning oven. So you're not supposed to put douching or put in soap inside and wash.
I used to have them a lot because of my fibroids. And my gynecologist said to me, let's reduce the amount of sugar you take when you're on your cycle, and use a lot of Greek yogurt in your diet. Instead of us putting you on a probiotic, that's going to change everything. And that literally changed my life.
Like one of the girls actually said something about putting a garlic inside your vaginal area, and there are people that do that. But let me tell you something. So when you put something in your vaginal area, it changes the vaginal flora. It's the pH level in your vaginal area. When that changes, it makes your body release more discharge, and that's what leads to the infection. So the more it changes, the more infection you may have, and then it's just like a dog running after its tail, so you're never going to catch up. So you actually have to use an type of antibiotics that is mainly specifically designed for these type of infection. You can either insert it or you can take it orally. But people don't understand. They'll be like, oh, I'm dirty because it smells like fish. Well, no, it is not because you're dirty. It's because you're over cleaning. Yes, garlic does have antibacterial and antiviral, but it does not mean that you're supposed to insert it inside.
It doesn't belong there.
It does not belong there, and it can actually cause more infections and change your cell makeup, which can actually cause you more trouble and more damages later on. And most of the time, especially let's say if you're in Africa, even if you're not eating a high sweet diet or sugary diet, but the fact that you're on your period, that area is already hot, and you have a nylon underwear, it could cause you to have more moisture around there. And what happens when you have moisture? It creates yeast to grow. So that's why you need to have cotton underwear, especially when you're in hot temperature areas and also when you're around your period.
So is this something that people should feel embarrassed about, right? Because usually, as Amy said, like when she had this infection, it was in her early teens. So should kids or even adults feel embarrassed about talking about this topic?
Absolutely not. It's a natural way of your body telling you something is not right. It does not mean that you are dirty. It does not mean that you need to clean anything extra or clean more, but it means that there's something going on within yourself that is absolutely not balanced, and you need to figure out what that is and balance it out.
So wow, that was a wealth of knowledge, Dr. J. Thanks for sharing that. We really appreciate it. I've learned so much already just now, more than from my gynecologist. I hope she's not watching. Her name is actually also Dr. Marian, and I tell her about Dr. Mom, so that's kind of cute. On that note, we're going to move on to the next segment, and hopefully you all find this information or this conversation fruitful, especially all the details that Dr. J shared. I definitely certainly found it informative. So now let's get into the hot soup of the day. As we said before, this is a segment where we actually discuss things that are happening or making its round in social media. Let's see what we have today. So new couples alert, Grand P and Adoxy found love with each other and tied a knot. And I mean, they tied a moolah. Maybe Adoxy tied a moolah. So do you all think it's actually true love or it is lost? What do you all think?
I seriously cannot answer that. I don't know how she feels and I don't know how he feels, right? But exactly.
Okay, Ole, Amy is pretending here. You're talking about I don't know how she feels, I don't know how he feels. You're talking about feelings here?
When I look at that, I can't relate. There's no feelings there. But if they feel a different way, who am I?
Okay, you're playing it safe. Let's go to Dr.
I'm not playing it safe. I'm just being helpful right now.
I'm saying it's a lost. Amy, let's just call it as it is. It's a lost. But it works for her, right? If it works for her.
Ole, remember
Exactly point.
Amy is not married yet, so we don't know what she's gonna be bringing here. So
that's exactly why I'm trying to play it safe, honey.
Maybe she's trying to tell us something. Who knows? Are you gonna bring, I don't know, a 1'5" guy here?
Ole, don't say that. That's not nice. Ole, we have audience that might be short.
What? Who cares?
Well, I'm just saying. Maybe she's about to bring her.
What's wrong with that?
You foul, Ole. Okay, let's move on to Dr. J.
I'm totally opposite of you guys because I think one's man's meat is another man's poison. And if this lady is in love, okay, wait a minute, Ole. If she's in love with her opposite, because okay, listen, guys, opposites do attract. So if she's attracted to this man, who am I to judge? So
not this extreme opposite.
Well, that's a real big
There's
opposite.
nothing that says extreme opposite. Opposite is opposite. That means one extreme to the next. So if they are in love, I am not going to judge because Amy could be bringing someone just like that. So what am I going to say?
Maybe you're about to bring someone just like that.
Jay, honest to God, I feel like Jay would marry the most opposite thing that you could ever think of, and she would just tell you, it's God and I'm in love.
Well,
I'm telling you, Jay will bring us anything. This one, I have no hope.
Okay, for me, expect perfection. Really? Oh hell yes. Oh, I'm not getting married. If it's not. So I don't know if you all remember when we had the production meeting. Mom said something about it could actually be true love because sometimes you don't find love in the looks.
It's the emotional connections, the chemistry. So even if this guy is like not the same as her, or she has.
Yeah, don't try to psychoanalyze it. Come on, it's love.
No, it's obviously psychological.
Okay, so Ole, so then should he not find love? It's not fair. Everybody should find love.
No, I'm not saying he did not find love. He actually did find love, right? But what we're talking about is it real love or is it money love?
Okay,
I think it's money love.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. You see, the chemistry is big for me. So I might be ending up like Jay. I'm saying all this nonsense, but I might be ending up like Jay. For me, the chemistry, for me, the chemistry is big.
I don't think it's chemistry. This one is math. This one is math. She count the moolah.
I mean, would you not count the moolah though? When that man stands on his money, he's taller.
And now she's telling her true self.
Let's move. End of conversation. Let's move to the next one.
But do you guys see? I don't know.
You guys, when the man stands on his money, he is taller and bigger than her. Next question. Let's move on.
How much money does he need to stand on? This one is.
You don't know that.
A lot.
God forgive me. Please, Father God, forgive me. Please, I beg, forgive me.
Okay, but if it works for them,
yeah, this is not even funny. Why are you guys laughing about this?
I know. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. We apologize. It is true love. And Amy, if you bring someone, whoever it is, we will embrace. So please, guys, comment below. Whatever it is fine. We will accept it.
Is it true love or is it lost?
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. And please forgive us for laughing. Like, we're not laughing at, we just, I don't know.
Laughing at them.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I mean, we're not laughing at him. I'm saying we're not laughing at him, but
we're laughing at them. Hey, the girl is going all the way to the bank, and we're sitting here.
Bro, she should be laughing at y'all.
Speak for yourself, Linda. Linda, speak for yourself. So making it around the hot soup, and another one is also around love. And this was on a Facebook group, and this person wrote, is it easier to find love on social media or is it easier to lose love on social media? So what do you all think? Is it easier or harder?
I think it's both. It's easier to find love on social media, but it's easy for them to lose it too, right? Because a lot of people, I'm not saying everyone that finds love is gonna lose it easy, but I think there's, can we say fakeness? Usually like maybe the guy is trying to tell the girl something that they are not. And then also the girls with all these filters that we have.
Talk to your sister.
Who said the guys are not doing the filters? The guys are doing the filters just as the girls are.
Really?
But they're
filtering their face and also their accounts, right? They're coming to the girls telling them all this stuff that maybe not be realistic. And then by the time the girls find out, they're already married.
Have you seen this app that actually you could make your waist smaller and you expand your butt, make it bigger, and you make your boobs bigger as well? That's in addition to the filter.
Yeah, so it's a complete different person, right?
But two things, right? Right now in Nigeria, right? When they make you dresses for your weddings and stuff, they actually add like a shape, like an extension. So when you put it on, it looks like that's what you look like, but technically that's not look like.
No, but
that's just one thing, right? Now, just like you were saying, there is the fakeness going on social media, and that's why we all have to be careful how we find love, right? One of Chris Brown's makeup artists, right? She has a whole story about this on YouTube. She actually met a guy that I think they met like on social media somehow, some way. And this guy's lifestyle on social media was, I'm talking about the Ferraris, the Bentleys, the Rolls Royce. Like he lives in like a big old mansion. And this guy literally dated this girl, and the girl had her business together, right? Was like buying her Rolex watches and stuff like that. And the girl was like, oh my God, this is the ultimate guy. Turned around, this guy scammed the crap out of her and gone.
Yep.
Gone.
Is it really love?
It's love. Some people really find love on social media.
Or is it more like
loss?
No.
Yes.
No, I think sometimes it's love. It's just a different way of finding love, right? Like previously, maybe before our parents, there was one way of matchmaking. Most of our parents, it's not like they dated. It was arranged marriages. And then it comes like our generation, it's just with technology help.
Jay, what would be the ideal way to find love? Like what do you think it should be? Like if it's not?
Just stay at home and pray.
That's what she's been doing.
Clearly, that's why she's been single for 20 years. If you're watching, we have a sister to give away.
A beautiful, dynamic sister.
But I think the easiest way these days to find love is definitely through social media. And social media also includes the swiping of left and the swiping of right. Juka, hold your thoughts, right? I'm very honest. There is a lot of guys that stay sliding in the DMs. I promise if you go to your DMs, there's gonna be a lot of messages, right? But obviously,
answer your sister. She said, "What's the DM?"
It's a direct message.
It means not sitting at home and praying.
Direct messaging, okay? There is tons of people that I know that actually found love through social media, and social media includes actually online dating as well too. You know, you can just swipe left or swipe right and find the love of your life. Like
I think the best way is through friends, like maybe a friend introducing you to someone, because usually your friend will know that person. Whereas in social media, it's trial and error to me.
Well, your friends are trial and error too. Even if they think they know you, but they don't know you,
No,
right?
They know that person and they know you as well. So they may be able to, I'm not saying, of course, it's going to be 100%. Like that's never a fact. But I'm saying there's a higher chance of it working than you randomly finding someone on social media.
It works.
You have to be patient.
I know tons of people who
it works for some people
who got married over online dating. I'm just not that comfortable. I'm just
because you don't want to admit
grandpa.
They will be on social media and they will take a picture. They will stand on.
All right. Anyways, this was fun, ladies. Please comment below. Let us know if you want us to have more of these hot soups. And if you see anything in social media that you want us to talk about or discuss here on the Sister Show, please go ahead and DM Jay. Hopefully she'll start checking her DM today, after today, since she knows what DM is now. Go ahead and DM us on our Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter page, and we'll be more than happy to bring that conversation as a hot soup. Continue to comment below. We thank you guys so much. And oh, by the way, don't forget to join the Mentor on the Spot competition right now. I think we have a few people that are leading, and we've been getting a lot of messages, and a lot of people are kind of camera shy, and we're encouraging you all and everyone, don't be camera shy. You could do it, because the benefit that you will get from it is far more than the risk of being camera shy. So please go ahead and submit your videos. We're waiting for you all. So I want to thank Go for Development Goal Foundation from all the way from Nigeria.
Yeah, we also want to thank the Girls for the Future Foundation in the Gambia, and they both did real well, and we're really proud of you.
As they said on their videos, thank you, sisters. We're also going to say thank you, sisters.
Thank you, sisters.
Thank you, sisters.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the show today, and continue to have a conversation with us below. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye to all of you all, and then bye, sisters.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Juka, this. Drop it down.
Wait, did I do it right? Yeah, I did it right.
Drop it.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected.